Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul Crawford. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Hegemony Technologies. We're a Sacramento-based and sometimes Urban High-based startup who's with a rather audacious mission to engineer better athletes and fitness through technology and analytics. I'm coming here today to talk about where we've been focused on since we were formed back in February of this year in that conference room right there, actually, born. And that is the sport of rowing. We have a focus on bringing some technologies to rowing that we think can change the game. And I think sort of this summary tagline kind of gets us off started on where we're trying to go, and that is deliver elite level training systems that exist in the rowing world today, but on your smartphone. And in this way, we're going to take basically 99% of the cost out of rowing training systems and deliver it to 100 times as many rowers. That's kind of our game plan. So, any rowers in the room? This is
tough audience.
I've typically been in a rowing audience, right? So I'm talking to some newbies here, right? So read the book Boys in the Boat. If you've ever, if you're looking for a good reading, Boys in the Boat. It's a great book. So I'll just throw some high-level challenges out there from a rowing perspective. I could dive into any of these, but in the interest of time, I'll just sort of give you the summary statements, right? So rowing, for what some people think is maybe a relatively easy sport, is actually exceedingly complex and nuanced. Until you try rowing, I assure you that's the case. So as a result of that, the coaching of rowing is very much an art form and is a very subjective activity. There are people trying to build technology into rowing, but as characterized by this photo here, it tends to be very labor intensive, expensive, and demands a lot of expertise to both set up and use in terms of interpret the data. And those of us who row spend a lot of our time managing the data and information in a way and trying to make it useful. Take it out of the feel world and into the data world is a challenge that persists today in this particular sport. And so we're all trying to get more insights and actionable feedback out of our rowing. That's the motivation for what we bring into our solution. And rather than sort of step through all the little elements here, what are our value propositions, I think essentially it boils down to this. We're trying to find ways to quantify things about rowing that map to coaching techniques that we know are helpful, and to bring it all together in a way that gives a rower feedback to help them be a better rower. So where are we going with this? Well, we're basically using the very sophisticated avionics class instrumentation systems that are inside for pennies on everybody's smartphone today. And then we're going to link that to sophisticated analytics and machine learning technologies that we've done a lot of proof of concept work around to point towards and build metrics around rowing that lead to insights and actionable feedback that helps people become better rowers. Being able to quantify things about rowing also then gives us a chance to sort of bridge into and use these data in newfound ways, part of that game-changing approach that we're trying to take to this particular sport. So maybe you see stuff in Strava or for the biking community or Runkeeper in the running community. There are challenges you can put out there, solicit your friends to get in there. You can grade yourself on these performances, track your progress, and generate a lot of fodder for your social network feeds. So over time, we sort of have seen more and more opportunities in this app that we started out with sort of a narrow focus. Our vision today is that this is the app that becomes the tool for all levels of rowing in the rowing community. So for those of you who don't row, right, I could throw a lot of numbers at you here on the rowing market, right? I'll just highlight maybe a couple that might not be intuitive to you. What was that one? Okay, there we go. Middle one. Yeah. Rowing is pretty evenly distributed in terms of the people who participate in terms of age, right? So everything from high schoolers, college, clubs, and master's level. Master's level in this case means people who are sort of post-collegiate rowers, right? So everybody from their mid-20s to their 90s. We have people in our club in the 90s that row. And maybe another interesting data point is it's roughly equal in terms of distribution of gender in rowers today. Here's a lot of data points that basically motivate my sort of summary statement for this slide. Rowing is moneyed. That's It's part of the reason why it came out of the Ivy Leagues. It is known for that, and it's also growing at a clip of definitely in double-digit figures. So from a business opportunity, it's a nice place to be. Our business model is, I mentioned Strava and Runkeeper. They're very much a business model that we're using in the fitness tracker industry. It's a freemium model. We have a set of basic features in our app that are free to help draw people into its use. And then for a monthly subscription fee, we can offer up different levels of metrics that give people insights into their rowing and other forms of functionality. We anticipate there's also going to be a team component of this that ties into your coaches and teammates. That's also going to be another level of subscription that we can go to. And there's a couple of other interesting sort of business opportunities that we anticipate using out of that, including to make your smartphone work and attach it to your oar. There'll be some photos of that later. Waterproof phone system for your case, an attachment system to your oar, and a flotation lease in case you drop it or it stays attached to your oar, floats as well. So, quick go-to-market plan. I mean, that's sort of the part of the industry that we've carved out. We literally want to bring this to every single rower who's not an elite rower, so 99% of the rowing community. But we're going to start with the masters rower for reasons that maybe aren't worth fully exposing here, other than they're decision makers, they have money, they are the ones that I am certainly most familiar with. And there's, following that, there's some other opportunities that we'll pursue that are a little more high touch, that will necessitate sort of disrupting the industry with the way that coaches tend to work today. Quick build on this slide here, right? So who are we up against? What elite training systems sit out there today? A minimum of $1,000 an oar to get these systems on your boat, and so they tend to be relegated to national teams that are training for the Olympics and maybe some moneyed college teams. So not only just the instrumentation does it cost you, but to get somebody in there to help you analyze the data is another big cost. So costs and the ability to make a scalable and convenient use of these systems is what prevents its use today. What we're talking about with our patented system is basically accessories in the terms of $50 an oar. We're going to use the oar, or we're going to use the smartphones that people have in mass today, certainly in the rowing community. And for $10 a month, we will deliver this and more in the current systems today. Quickly, team. My background. I got my PhD at Cal in mechanical engineering, so I got this sort of science foundation that's built in sort of this intersection of technology and bioengineering and data, so I'm sort of leading that piece of the effort. Just finished up a 10-year career at Intel. That sort of gave me the opportunity to pursue more of my passions and interests, so that's what I bring to this team. The real superstar of our team is actually Seth Weil. He's recently back from the Rio Olympics, was last year's U.S. Rowing's Male Athlete of the Year, World Champion Rower, and fantastic engineer and coder as well. So he's my CRO, my Chief Rowing Officer on the team, who understands the art and science of rowing really well. We've been a bootstrap organization, and we've leveraged at this point over 10 interns and a number of contractors and people who may be familiar, certainly to Urban High, as part of that team. So that's a quick flyby.
Awesome. So as always, what can we as a community do for you?
Well, just being invited to this is actually a good starting point. We're definitely at a transition point in our company. We're just coming out of an intense period of development where we're trying to get our beta app out. So we're going to try to, before the end of the year, get into some internal beta testing, followed quickly by some external beta testing. And our goal is to launch a product early next year. So we are moving that restraining world of bootstrapped organization and trying to find some money to help us scale this up and get ready for a real product launch. So it's a good practice pitch for me. First non-rowing audience I've ever pitched to on this. So that's helpful. I'd say as well, if you like what you see or there's something that sort of intrigues you, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn with me. I'm out there as Paul Crawford, kind of all one word. We'll find me on LinkedIn. I'd say, when I look at all the things that Seth and I are doing between, obviously focus on the development, but we definitely have a need for a designer on our team. We definitely have more than enough developer opportunities. We're definitely looking for somebody to help us do some more marketing, look at our set of strengths and how we like to map that to some other people. Kind of our criteria is long. We'd love to find rowers, but they're not, as this room would attest, they're not a particularly large percentage of the population. So we're trying to find the right skill set mix that can work with us and set up in a startup world. And maybe sort of the last one is for that financing effort that's just top of mind for me in job one. Connections with the financing, investing world would be a good place to be. I have my sources and they're pointing me, and I'm going to continue to do that. That due diligence and trying to find some money to keep our company rolling and meet our scheduled delivery and product launch of this will be rolling out next year.
Great. Questions from the audience?
Yeah.
Well, first off, I have a history question. I guess when I think rowing in history, I think like slaves on like a Roman galleon, just like rowing through the Mediterranean. So how did that become like a money sort of a sport?
How did it become a money sport?
Yeah.
Well, Harvard and Yale race in these, tremendous events. Do I have? You know what I'll do? I'll show you how it's a money sport.
I think of that as sculling when you say Harvard and
No. Actually, there's two forms of rowing. One's called sculling, which is where you have two blades, and you tend to be either a single, a double, or a quad, what they call. So that sculling is two oars and one oar in each hand. Rowing, or what they call sweep rowing, is one oar in each hand. And the more, the classic tales of rowing are sweep oar, boats of 8. That's the featured sport in the Olympics, right? So let me just show you something here right now, right? So just to calibrate you on some costs, right? Each of these boats costs about $50,000.
Oh,
Each of these trailers have about $500,000 worth of boats on them. This is the head of the Charles. There's probably in excess of 60 trailers here. So do the math, right? It's a lot of money in rowing. People pay a lot of money to get faster in rowing. And in fact, here's another tale that points to what people are willing to do to try to get faster in rowing. If any of you watched the Olympics this year, this was the final of the men's single sculling for the gold medal in the Olympics. It was determined by less than 2 centimeters to the thousandths of a second was identical times, and it's a sport that operates on a razor's edge as far as efficiency. So there's a lot of ego wrapped up in obviously being the best, and in that there's a lot of money that's spent on it, right? So
it kind of seems like you should definitely have a tiered model. I mean, I'm thinking you're paying $10 a month. If these guys, these East Coast old money guys, really have a bunch of money.
Well, I mean, I want to try to get the other 99% of the rowing population. So I'm definitely comfortable, and it'll be a good business if I can get 99% of the rowing population paying me $10 a month. So I don't want to sort of price people out that I think I'm going to go for a big giant bite.
Well, can't you do that, but then also have like the super special?
Well, there is. I mean, what I had in mind, what I sort of advertised there was the sort of the team level, right? So that's $100 a month. That'll give you some different, affinities to things that are more coach meeting with 7 other people in your boat, right? So I suppose, I guess maybe that's what you're talking about.
And so the other question is, so it attaches to the oar, because that wasn't completely clear.
Yeah, it attaches to the oar. Can I relaunch? I think I got us out of this. We go to just that first page.
And so is the product working almost, or does the pieces of it work?
It's collecting data right now. It uses basically the magnetometers and accelerometers and angular gyros in your phone to sort of figure out the orientation of the phone, rigidly attached to your oar, in all phases of in rotations and translations. So I can collect the data today. That the things that we're refining are the techniques by which we take that data and turn it into actionable information. You're rowing it in, you're driving it in, you're washing it out, you're flip catching, all these terms that speak to a rower and what you're trying to do to make yourself a better rower. we're doing the diagnostics on that from the data that we can do.
Okay.
That exists today.
No, I think it's an interesting industry because it's very specific for like if you're a rower, you're going to buy this, right? But if you can kind of demonstrate kind of what it does a little bit better.
So here's the attachment system, right? Basically, the simple way to do it today is you zip tie this to your oar, then you take your waterproof case on your phone, stick it on here, you secure it and attach it to your oar, right? So then it's rigidly attached to your oar. You fire up the app, you turn on your recording, and then every stroke you take, you bring it up, you drop it in, you pull it through, you take it out of the water, you feather it, you go up what they call the recovery, square it, drop it in, right? It's a very repetitive motion, and every angle that you take before the phone can record. And then the technique is then to sort of take all that data and identify when a stroke began, when it ended, from that calculate your stroke length, which is a good measure of your stroke speed, etc. So, yep.
Just to piggyback on that, I'm usually not a proponent of putting a video in a presentation, but I think this, especially when you're talking to a non-rowing audience, to be able to show the different, even if it was just a quick example of 3 different things, it's like, this motion is, you called it washing out. Like, I'm not familiar with the technology. You can maybe somehow outline 1 or 2 examples of, if you're doing this, the phone's able to measure that and tell you that you're doing it. This might be an exception to the no video and presentation rule that I generally adhere to, at least with non-rowing audiences.
Good point. I certainly have those videos.
Maybe that's a little bit of what you're talking about, is just connecting the dots between. I mean, you did a pretty good job there of doing it, and I get it now, right? But even just saying, hey, we help here are the 4 things that rowers care about, like from a technical rowing standpoint, right? Washing out is this. What was the other ones?
Rolling it in, driving in too deep, flip catching.
Yeah, these are the 4 things that can make rowers significantly better and translate into winning a race that can come down to centimeters, right? And our app, connects to the oar and is able to identify which things you're doing incorrectly and tell you how to improve on them. Like, just even simpler almost. I mean, maybe that doesn't need a video. Maybe you can. I think we're on the same page.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Just a comment.
Good. Thanks. Yeah.
So, how much does that weigh, and does that affect performance? Because if it changes will it change performance if you take it off? Is my question. Because in cycling, weight, it really counts on everything.
Yeah. Not to any measure that we've been able to ascertain. I mean, these oars weigh in excess of 25 pounds, right, from end to end, and actually what you have is a fulcrum that sits here. So you don't support the weight of the oar. All you're doing is basically the weight is sort of balanced, and you drop it in or pull it out, or you twist it, right? So it doesn't add any significant weight or inertia to the use, particularly the sweep oars. Sculling oars are a little more sensitive, and we have had some feedback on that, but there are some ways in which you can balance these systems so that you can put an equal weight on the opposite side, and then it doesn't affect the weight at all, actually, in a balanced sense. It just adds a little bit of inertia to the feathering and squaring. So I don't anticipate 100% of the rowing community will necessarily use it or like it, but we have data points that there are people for which the feedback is way more exceeds their interest in the hassle that it creates as well. So, yeah. Just I heard real quick.
Have you assessed the comfort of users to attach their phone to the row?
Yes, and you get some people who push back against that, right? I think there's, I'm not going to deny that, but certainly we have also assessed for the early adopter crowd, and you can look at, sort of like these waterproof phone cases, you look at like LifeProof and some of the videos of where people are taking these phones, and they are really ruggedized. You can count on these things being very well protected by that, and so we've added, it's a dual fault tolerance system. You can't lose it if you have this attached to the lease and this over your oar. If it falls off, it's still going to stay on your oar. If it drops in the water, it's still going to float, right? So I'm comfortable that we've assured most people that it's a safe thing to do, and if you don't want to do that, then go find an old iPhone and potentially use it in that way. And if that's too much, then we lose you as a customer. That's okay. I'm comfortable with that loss of the market. Your option is to go buy a $10,000 system if you want. If you want that.
So to address first what you could use for the community and you said funding, one of the fastest growing avenues of venture capital is corporate venture capital. So to illustrate that, 7-Eleven has a venture capital division of it. So you might want to get into a sports-focused company that has a corporate venture division, like maybe Dick's or one of those companies that'd be interested in being at the forefront of emerging technology like that, so they can either buy you, keep you away from other competitors or whatever. That's part of their approach, is to protect their competitive edge. The other thing is you said it, a very niche product, a very niche group of athletes, relatively small compared to most athletes out there or sports out there. Is you got kind of the front bowling pin. It's your passion. It's what you want to pursue, and that's awesome because it's the catalyst of this. But you might want to also incorporate into your pitch that you could plan to incorporate a similar approach to other swing-oriented sports, such as baseball, tennis, golf.
Yep.
So that now they say, okay, let's rowing. Do we really want to get into this rowing? I don't even know any rowers. You can give me the numbers, but to your point, nobody here is a rower. But everybody here probably knows a runner, or is a runner, or a cyclist, or has played baseball, or golf, or something like that. So maybe make it more of an appealing offer, knowing that you can take that technology and apply it to a more broad set of sports.
Yeah, I mean, sort of expand on sort of the motivations for what we came up with. Is we were seeing this show up in golf, tennis, and baseball with very dedicated inertial measurement units, which is essentially what's inside your phone, and the hassles then of manufacturing these devices that are special purpose for you. Put in your tennis racket, or in your golf club, you put in your baseball bat, etc. Right? We saw that going on. We saw the value as it generated that, and we thought, okay, well, we can take that to rowing, and we don't have the manufacturing then. We just build an app, right? So it's a quick money play for us for a sport that we know well and are equipped to sort of monetize. We would definitely be stepping into a hyper-competitive space to take on golf, baseball, tennis, right? These places where we do see this showing up as well. So we certainly have a broader mission statement as a company to say, yeah, we're not just going to be about rowing. I think there's other places that we think we can play. We sort of, I think there's some opportunities in sort of the CrossFit world that I think we can make some of this play at right now. But I'm sort of not prepared to sort of advertise sort of what the right one to go at next until we can sort of if we can't be successful in this, we won't have a future. Right? This is what we know, and so we're prepared to sort of like stake our starting point on this one, and we have a pretty long runway of all the places where we could take it. And I think we just invite maybe more potential players who might be a partner down the road for us in like the ZEPs or these other places that are building these other small inertial measurement units that are showing up in other sports. So I hear what you're saying, and I've toyed around with that idea. My idea is sort of let's keep our flag in the rowing world, and then see where it goes. But I appreciate what you're saying. Yes, Laura.
I actually agree with your strategy on that. That you want to do something really well, and if you try to add all those other things right now, I don't think you could stay focused as a company or be successful. So I like your plan of let's kick ass on rowing and then see where it goes after that.
Yeah.
Mine was just a question that popped in my head. Did you completely lose any phones in perfecting your technology? And if so, how many phones were lost? Zero phones were
we
lost.
probably have, 500 hours on the water. We've lost 0 phones. So let's hope it stays that way. Don't jinx me. I'm comfortable in my system that I have in place. Your phone will be safe.
Last question.
So as far as any competitors or any companies that you think might want to take your idea and run with it, and how do you protect it against them?
Yeah. Well, we have a patent that's in process, so first layer of sort of defense. I think but I'm also, I have a fair number of patents and know that will not always play out. It's not always the best idea, right? So the competitors in this space, I think, would be, the established rowing manufacturers that are out there, Concept 2, Pocock, some of the other ones that are not household names but are really well known in the rowing world. I've talked with most of them. I think they sort of get it, but they're kind of in a wait and see sort of mode. I haven't disclosed all my exit strategies here. I really think I'm more in sort of the app fitness space and would love to build partnerships more with people like Strava for a place within those adjacency that I think we're more aligned with than for an Orlock manufacturer to say, okay, now we want to come and buy this. So I know people are paying attention to what we're doing to see if we'll be successful. I think there's some doubts about this, but that's good. I want them to sort of keep doubting us because that gives us more time to deliver on it. I'm confident we can do this with time. We have the expertise we have. So the rowing community is the one I think probably the most likely competitor, but not the one that I see as the place, the partnership with which I want to build.
All right.